Welcome to our Destination Rural podcast series 4, and this will be our second episode. Forgive me if I get my episodes mixed up as we go along through the series, depends when we record. I'm Peter Rutherford, I'm the CEO at the Rural Doctors Association of Australia, and today we're talking to Dr. Noah Pallot from Gippsland down in Victoria. Thanks, Noah, for joining us on this Destination Rural podcast series episode. Let's just kick off straight into a little bit of background about yourself, where you grew up, what your parents did, that sort of thing, just so we can get a feel, and then that'll lead into a whole range of other questions from there on in.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for having me, Peter. Pleasure to always have a chat. So I grew up in West Gippsland in Victoria, about an hour and a half from Melbourne. Grew up on a little hobby farm. We had about 32 acres and all sorts of animals from, I think we had peacocks at one stage, all the way through to alpacas. So I grew up there, primary school, high school, sort of in the local area, and then went to Monash undergrad med and sort of went down the pathway there. But growing up, Dad was a firefighter up in Melbourne, which was always kept him busy with the commute, and Mum, between me and my four siblings rather, we kept her on her toes, and so she was in and out of sort of work as a travel agent as we were all growing up, and running around after the five of us was certainly no small feat.
Yeah, pretty busy. So you said you went to Monash. Did you do rural clinical school there, or how? And was that based in Gippsland as well, or were you somewhere else?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went up to, managed to get into the school leaver entry program at Monash, and so I went up to Clayton for the first 2 years of undergrad, which was right around when COVID hit. So my second year was entirely online, which was an interesting experience. And then I moved back out to Gippsland and did my third year placement in Warragul, and then my fourth year placements through Gippsland from Warragul, Traralgon and Sale, which is sort of just getting slightly further out from the city. Final year, I went up to Melbourne just to make sure I didn't like it, and lo and behold, I didn't. It was a very valuable experience, but certainly reinforced that rural was where I was meant to be.
Yep. And what year are you currently? PGY 2 or 3?
PGY 2.
2. Yep. Okay. And so where did you do your internship?
So I did my internship with the Victorian Rural Generalist program, which was a fantastic year, really, really well supported. And I was based in Sale for that, including 20 weeks at one of the local GP clinics, which I'm actually going back to as a registrar next year. And then I've then been lucky enough to continue on in my training at Sale Hospital as well. So following on from my internship, doing my core generalist year as my first year as a reg with ACRRRM.
Exciting. Did you feel any pressure like that, the whole thing of, recruit from the regions, train them in the regions, we'll keep them in the regions type attitude in health policy? Did you feel any pressure going through medical school or even as an intern to stay or in the regions, or just felt that that's where you were meant to be?
No, I think it's quite the opposite. I've never felt any pressure. It's always been that I've wanted to, and the support that I've had through that pathway to sort of fill out that policy, as you say, with the recruit and retain to the regions, the support that's been there to enable me to follow that pathway has been second to none. And I think it's the power of that support, not that anyone's being forced into anything, but if you want to, then we'll make it happen, kind of thing. Especially through the VRGP, and then them sort of linking in with the colleges to make sure we've got a training pathway, pre-matching to hospitals. It's really made the whole process a whole lot easier, where I look at some of my colleagues going through specialist training where it's very much a fend for yourself, and we'll see you if you make it onto the program, whereas it's been supportive for me from even fourth year of medical school, where I've had a bit of a pathway planned out.
Yeah, nice. Have you found or still finding, I guess, some key mentors to guide you through this, or everyone's just been super supportive type thing?
Everyone's been super supportive, but there have been some key people that have helped me along the way for sure. And I think it started sort of in third year when I had that first clinical placement, and I was starting to meet some of the people that I'd known in the community for a long time as well, growing up and going through school with some of their kids. And I guess that's part of the beauty of rural medicine as well, is that everyone does know everyone, and that helps break down some of those barriers as you go into the hospitals. And I think there was already a degree of trust with some of those clinicians that knew me. And that certainly opened up doorways to, or pathways to, different opportunities that potentially may not have been there otherwise. Um, as I've gone through, there's definitely been some key mentors that have sort of been on the pathway that I'm now myself on in sort of the GP anaesthetic space. But even just in meeting some of the incredible rural doctors around that have been off and done incredible things, and working in the Kimberley or up in the Northern Territory or wherever they've been and whatever they've done before they've sort of settled down where they are now, has really sort of created this beautiful idea in my mind that I really can go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah, nice. Did what made I'm just sort of going back, what made you choose medicine?
There's a little bit of a funny story, actually. I was actually initially very keen on medical research. I had a year 10 teacher who was very passionate about medical research,
Yeah.
and she was a biology teacher. So she took us up to the Florey Institute in Melbourne, which was doing research on Alzheimer's at the time. I was like, yep, that's me. Medical research, easy. And then getting into year 12, my careers counsellor kind of said, oh, have you considered applying for medicine? Your grades are okay. You'd probably be half a shot. I went, oh, not really, but I guess we'll give it a run. And that was 2 weeks before the UMAT at the time. So I enrolled myself to sit the UMAT and managed to get through that. And as soon as I hit the ground in that first year of med school, I knew that was where I was supposed to be. I haven't really looked back since. I still do a little bit of research with Monash here and there, sort of more around clinical education now. And I think that as soon as I got a taste for that sort of patient-facing side of things and the care delivery and the difference that I could truly make in that space, there was never any looking back for me.
Yeah, nice. So it's nice. I mean, again, it's one of those things we hear a lot about, rural kids don't necessarily see themselves going into medicine. So it's nice to have a careers counsellor that challenges you with that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's absolutely. And I mean, coming through with some of the other people from the region who were explicitly told the opposite by some of their careers counsellors. And it's been really empowering as we've come through medical school together and now into sort of the junior years of our practice. We've been able to go back to our local high schools and say, no, you can do it. And you'll
yeah,
be very
nice.
good at it, which has been a really nice sort of full circle moment of being able to then take it back to those grassroots approaches to try and help out with some of the workforce issues that we're seeing.
Yeah. You mentioned GP anesthetics, so you're going with ACRRM, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on with ACRRM as of this year. I'm doing my first year. I'll do some part-time GP, some ED time, and a little bit of anaesthetics next year. And then again, part of the beauty of being in the region and knowing that I'm sort of locked into this region for at least the foreseeable future is that I've been pre-matched to an anaesthetics training spot sometime in the next few years as well, which makes life a whole lot less stressful as far as looking forward for my career.
Yeah. Do you know where you'll do your anesthetics training or?
Yeah, so I'll do actually end-to-end ACRRM training in Sale. So every one of my placements will all
Wow,
be in the same town.
that's fantastic. That's really good.
Yeah,
And was that coordinated through ACRRM and the VRGP or mainly VRGP? How did that work?
yeah. So the VRGP, I think, is probably more the coordinating unit, and that really gives the support. And through internship, we had frequent meetings, and as I said, the plan had sort of been semi worked up for me even as early as fourth year med school. And so as I've gone through, there's been constant meetings to rejig or change that pathway as other things have popped up or I've become interested in other things. And the pathway was always worked up with either college. There was no sort of trend one way or the other, but I found that ACRRM was likely to give me a more flexible training scheme, and so that was the path I went down there. And the support that I've had from ACRRM now that I'm on board, and some of the opportunities that that's allowed as well, have really been incredible.
Fantastic. And so there was never any consideration to any other specialty as you've gone through?
I think as I went through, I considered every specialty. And as I've met more and more rural generalists, it seems to be the common theme that we can't pick any one thing, and we get once you get a taste for it and you want to do a bit of everything and you find out that there's actually a way for you to do that as well, it's really hard to say no. So I briefly considered doing emergency medicine and then pediatrics, and specialist anesthetics before deciding that I wanted all of it, and I'm greedy like that, so I figured I'd take it, and we yeah, went down the rural generalist pathway to get the best of all worlds.
Nice. You were talking about other people like rural generalists who've done things like up in the Northern Territory or and other things. Have you got your eye on any of the adventures that you've heard about, or planning just your own adventures?
At the moment, I'm very much focused on trying to get through my training, and sort of a couple of the other things like advocacy and education that I've been lucky enough to be involved in as well. I post fellowship, once I've settled into practice a little bit, I would love to go up north and do a bit of retrieval medicine and look at where that might take me. But even as far as 2 weeks ago, hearing some people speak about their experiences in Antarctica, I've gone, well, maybe that's something I need to consider, or where might that fit into a sort of 10-year plan? And I think that's the beauty of the pathway and the training pathway that I'm on, is that it doesn't matter when or where things pop up. I can always pivot, chop, change, retrain, upskill, and it's really powerful to be able to meet any of the needs wherever I go.
Yeah. So you said 2 weeks ago. So about 2 weeks ago, we were all in Perth. Um, so how did you find RMA? I know you've been a couple of times now.
Yeah.
So how have you found it? Is it something that you would recommend to other like medical students to get involved with and attend early and meet people, or is it just another conference?
No, it is something truly special. Yeah, it was my second year attending, and thoroughly enjoyed Perth as well. I was at Darwin last year, and it really is a special group of people in rural medicine. And I remember going last year to Darwin. I didn't know anyone that was going, or I didn't think I knew anyone that was going, more to the point. And as soon as I arrived, there was just such a welcoming air. You could talk to anyone there, and there was something in common, either through your love of rural medicine or something completely unrelated. And it really does just feel like one big family. And going again this year to sort of consolidate and meet those people again and see what they've been up to, and sort of hearing all these incredible stories about where people have been, where they're going, and what they're doing is really inspiring. And I haven't really been involved in a whole lot of conferences outside of it, but I struggle to imagine that any would come close to the network that you have at RMA through RDAA and ACRRM.
Yeah, nice. So we met when you got involved with the Rural Doctors Association of Victoria. So were you involved in any of the advocacy or stuff as a medical student, or is this sort of new ground for you?
It's sort of new ground for me. I worked all the way through medical school as a operations coordinator, and so for the YMCA Victoria, and so that kind of took up most of my spare time while I was studying, and I didn't really have a whole lot of involvement with much of the advocacy side of things through med school. But as soon as I hit the ground running in medicine as my full time and my sole focus, it very much appealed to me, and so I think we met at VRHC last year, and RDAV and by extension RDAA were just something that appealed to me immensely, as far as advocating and being that person that junior doctors, particularly rurally based, could come to for any advice or any help that they might need. It's a really quite, again, similar to what I was saying about RMA. It's a special group of people who are very passionate about the best health outcomes for rural Victorians and Australians, and also for the well-being and support of the doctors that are working there.
Yeah. Have you thought about what? Do you have a partner?
Um, early days, early days.
Oh, nice. Okay. No, because often it's one of the things that, because I'm going to ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And
Mhm.
often when people are well settled in relationships, the partner career and job becomes probably a key consideration. So probably not such a high priority at the moment, or maybe in 6 months' time that answer will be different. But where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Look, 5 years time, ideally, all going well, I'll be fellowed and hopefully doing some consolidation of my sort of GP anaesthetic skills and starting to provide for the community in that sense. I'm really pushing at the moment, sort of, you talk about where family and that side of things might fit in, and I definitely see myself wanting a family down the track. So at the moment, I'm pushing quite hard in trying to knock over as many things as I can, so that can be my sole focus when the time comes. So knocking over a Master's of Public Health at the moment alongside my work, and really making sure that I've got sort of all my ducks in a row down the track. I have a vague interest in medical administration sometime in the distant future. So I'll keep chipping away at sort of bits and pieces to do with that, including the public health and the advocacy. But even just in the sort of a more local sense, looking at organisations like the Primary Healthcare Network for Gippsland and trying to get involved and looking at what sort of an impact I can have in the region that I'm working, while also continuing to work with organisations like RDAV to have an impact on a larger scale as well.
Well, Gippsland's very lucky to have you. Now, I'm going to do some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So just whatever pops into your mind to start with. Your AFL team, because you're Victorian.
Yeah, Richmond, but we won't talk about that at the moment.
Oh, no, that's okay. Richmond's my team too, so good company. Favourite food?
Pizza.
Okay, well, you can get that pretty much anywhere.
Mm.
Good pizza, maybe not. Food you hate?
I actually don't think I have a food that I hate. I've struggled to find one and I keep looking, but I haven't found anything that I actually hate yet.
Okay. Favourite movie?
Inception.
Worst movie you've ever seen?
The Minecraft movie.
Oh. Okay, if you could live any place in the world, where would it be?
I mean, I haven't seen enough of the world to know, to be honest.
Nice.
Yeah, I need to explore more, I think, is the short answer there.
Okay. Beach or snow?
Beach.
Okay. Well, I was going to say your best holiday destination, but maybe that's yet to be discovered as well.
Look, France has a special place in my heart. I have been there, so we'll roll with that.
Fair enough. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Take every opportunity that comes your way, work out how and if it fits in later, and make it work if it's something you're passionate about.
Nice. Noah, it's been quick, it's been fast, but really interesting to learn more about you. So thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to watching where your career goes. And as I said, I think Gippsland's very lucky to have you.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate your time. Been great to chat.